Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast live. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate you. What we're going to do here, we got some pretty interesting topics tonight. You can see my man G is back with us. Definitely glad to have him. We got some pretty interesting topics for you tonight. Going to talk mostly NBA, and then we're going to finish it out with some NFL. But before we get to that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next topic here, and go look at that. It's LeBron again. And so I have it here, is LeBron losing control? And why am I asking that question? Why did I name this topic, this segment, is LeBron losing control? So we were just talking about LeBron with our caller Nino, and we were talking about him previously and his influence in the Lakers head coaching search, so on and so forth. But one of the things, if you are a regular watcher of my show and my content, and or you know me, or in general, you've just been an NBA fan for the last 22 years, you have known that LeBron James is a guy that has had tremendous control throughout pretty much his entire career, whether it's control of the media and the way he is perceived, control of his team situations and all that. You good, G?
I'm good.
I bet. So LeBron is a guy who's had a tremendous amount of control. And now, lately, now that he is moving towards the end of his career, we're seeing a situation where he seems to have less control, and he is being, well, I'll say this, people in the media are being much more honest about things that we have seen pertaining to him, even to the point of some of his biggest cheerleaders are openly chastising him. Have you seen that to be the case, G?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see a change at the guard when it comes to LeBron and his era. I think the league is pushing for a younger, faster, quicker league, and so the powers that be, being the media, is starting to change on him. And we've seen that with Mike at the end of his career, where they started to throw all the younger guys at him, and then amplify his faults. And so it's just common, right? Change the guard. The torch has to be passed, even if you don't want to let it go, right? They're going to take it from you. And so all of the pro LeBron fans, they're starting to just kind of like expose him. Don't get me wrong. He's an amazing player with amazing accolades.
Yes.
One of a kind, one of a generation talent.
Yes.
But there's something in the media right now that's saying we need to phase him out, and I think it started when he didn't take ownership of the Lakers not doing well, and he, saying it was the coach when he wasn't listening to the coach, or they didn't believe the coach had what it took, or understood, or could make those decisions to kind of move personnel around so that they could win or be in a position to win. So that's no secret, right? The league's been doing that forever. That's just the way of amplifying other players.
So to some extent, I agree with you, right? But even in the past, when we've seen guys like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, if stuff was going on with those guys, the media didn't act as if they walked on water and they were infallible. And we saw for so many years the media act as if LeBron is infallible. I mean, honestly, we still see most of his fans act as if he's infallible. And again, fan is short for fanatic, so I understand that. But I mean, even when the evidence is right before you, not you being you, but you in general as a LeBron fan, the evidence would be right in front of you, but you still they refuse to see it, and they act as if, well, no, you're making that up. You being me, you're making that up, Bruce. You an old head hater. You hate on Bron, this, that, the other. Whoa, you wake up every morning looking for a reason to hate on another black man. Whoa, okay, because I'm telling the truth and I'm not buying into your narrative. But now we're seeing people in the media, as I mentioned, major media voices, again, including some of his biggest cheerleaders, and they're now chastising this guy. And my question is, why is it happening now? And to your point, it could be just that changing of the guard and phasing him out and bringing in some of the new guys. But it's amazing to hear. And to that point, this is a longer clip, but I actually put together some clips of people that we have heard throughout the media who are going to be honest with LeBron in terms of things that I've been saying for years, and I know others have been saying for years, but for whatever reason, it couldn't be heard until now. So let's hear some people in the media and their commentary on LeBron, very recent commentary. And it's funny because it all seems to be happening like right now. Check it out.
My recommendation, the next Laker coach, and out of the 8 or 9 names that I've heard, his name wasn't on there, is make LeBron the coach. I got nothing but love and respect for LeBron. I love him. I think he's one of the greatest players that ever played this game. But it's obvious to me, at least, that he's making a lot of decisions that's going on in this organization.
No doubt.
From a coaching standpoint to a player standpoint. So if you're going to allow him to make those decisions, sit on the bench and make those decisions as well. Be the head coach. JJ Redick.
You mean player coach, right?
Player head coach.
Yeah. Well, it's happened before.
Go back to Bill Russell days.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Lenny Wilkins.
Yeah.
We've got certain veteran status in our game that are on a lot of people's Mount Rushmore that like to deflect and point fingers at others. Here's a 22-year-old saying, this is on me. It's my fault.
LeBron's problem is the accountability because he's saying cryptic and subliminal tweets. They're not even subliminal. You know exactly what he's saying because we've heard it for the better part of 20 years. So we know exactly what he means. We know exactly what he's saying. But the fact of the matter is that if he could have had Ty Lue or he could have had an Eric Spoelstra, do I believe LeBron James would have had more titles? Yes. But he has what he has. It is what it is. I don't think all those coaches hurt this argument. The only thing that hurts LeBron James is that they don't think we know that he's a large part of the reason why these coaches are no longer coach him. That's the problem that I have first and foremost.
Shannon, you said if he could have Eric Spoelstra, he would have more rings. Damn it, he had Eric Spoelstra. He chose to leave Miami.
And left.
He didn't want to play for Eric Spoelstra no more in that franchise because they wouldn't do it the LeBron James way. Because Pat Riley stood behind Eric Spoelstra. Okay, so when I think about the comments when you said, about Jordan and his expectations, you know why the expectations are different for LeBron James? Because LeBron James put these expectations. LeBron James put these expectations on himself. Because LeBron James is always calling himself on several occasions the GOAT. LeBron James is always speaking out about it. We don't hear Jordan calling himself the GOAT. Here's another thing. LeBron James, this is another thing, man, that I feel like is gonna hurt LeBron. We already know what type of basketball mind LeBron is. I think he's one of the most brilliant basketball minds that ever touched the damn basketball. But when you start making it a case where you're the smartest person in the room all the time, that's a problem. And that's hard for any coach to step into that seat and come in and try to hold you accountable.
We're not going to let LeBron James and his camp get away with that. We're not blaming him for the firing. What we're saying is you can't be as great as you proclaim to be, as we know you are, in today's NBA game, and be completely innocent and oblivious and distant, having nothing to do with the firing of yet another coach. That is impossible. That's all we're saying. But having said all of that, while acknowledging that that's a reality that he has to live with, there's a bigger narrative to touch on. And that is the fact that LeBron James has brought these debates on himself, Shannon, because of this insatiable appetite he has to control narratives. It's what he does. Nobody, I repeat, nobody, no star in the history of sports has gone about the business of methodically, systematically, continuously trying to control the narrative.
Okay, so all right. So you heard that. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? 6 guys in the media who had a lot to say. So I'm gonna go down there, right? I'm gonna go down the list first. Byron Scott. This is a 3-time champion with the Showtime Lakers. This is a guy who coached the New Jersey Nets. The New Jersey Nets to back-to-back NBA Finals appearances. He might have a championship as a coach if he didn't run into the Kobe Shaq Lakers or the Tim Duncan Spurs, right? Those were 2 tough situations, right? But regardless, he knows what he's doing as a coach. He coached the Nets to back-to-back championship berths, right? Okay, then you hear Reggie Miller and his comments. Now, let me address this, right? So Pam Brown, while that clip was playing, says Reggie says he wasn't talking about Bron. And I was going to get to that. So it's so interesting that you mentioned that, Pam. So let's use our brains a little bit here, okay? Reggie Miller was on Dan Patrick, and Dan Patrick played that clip. That's where I got that from. And Reggie Miller did a lot of moonwalking there because he said he wasn't talking about Bron. But if you listen to the clip, Reggie Miller says we have current players, Mount Rushmore guys who don't take accountability. So that could be one of 3 guys. There's only 3 Mount Rushmore guys currently playing, right? And realistically, maybe 2, but it's going to be, if you're going to say, it's going to be Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and LeBron James, right? Am I right, G? Those are the only 3 guys currently playing that could be considered Mount Rushmore. Am I missing anybody?
I don't have Durant on my Mount
Okay.
Rushmore.
Well, there you go. So even if that's the case, realistically, LeBron is the only guy he could have been talking about. But the fact is, like a lot of guys, they don't want to call out LeBron for whatever reason, fear or, whatever it may be. They don't want to call out LeBron, but that is what that is. So first we heard Byron Scott calling out LeBron. Then we heard Reggie Miller. He just didn't want to admit to calling out LeBron because if we use common sense, it couldn't have been anyone else. Then we hear Shannon Sharpe, one of the biggest LeBron pom-pom wavers, admitting that we've been watching LeBron do these things for the better part of 20 years. We just heard him say that. I know he's not going to like that, and he hates that he had to come out and do it, but he admitted it, so that's another one. And then we hear Shannon Sharpe with the same lame argument about, if he had a Ty Lue, if he had an Eric Spoelstra. Excuse me, he had a Ty Lue. He had an Eric Spoelstra, right? He had both of those guys. Again, he tried to get Spo fired. We know that because Pat Riley said it. And then he left Ty Lue with Cleveland. So we know that's the case as well, right? There's Nino. Reggie Miller was definitely talking about Bron. Like, I don't know how anybody could argue that. Reggie said he wasn't, but he just said that. We know he was talking about Bron because Bron is the only person who fits that description. Thank you, Nino. Yeah, so then like I said, we had Shannon with the same lame coaching argument. We know that doesn't hold water. We already punched a bunch of holes in that. Then we see Kendrick Perkins, the next big pom-pom waiver for LeBron. He appears to be sick of it by now. He shut down Shannon Sharpe's argument in terms of the coaching argument. He shut it down and said he had Spoelstra, and he left. He didn't want to be there. First, he tried to get him fired, then he left, right? So we know that's a non-issue. Then we hear Stephen A. Smith saying what I've been saying for years about how LeBron is always trying to control the narrative. He's always trying to control how he's perceived. Like, anyone who really pays any level of attention to this and puts the pom-poms down for a minute can see that this is what LeBron does. Now, let me be clear. This has been brilliant business. This has been brilliant marketing. This has been brilliant on LeBron's part for all these years because it has played a role in him getting to where he is. Him being the champion that he is, right? Because he figured out a way to grease the skids. So he became a 4-time champion, 10-time finals participant. It also has helped him in terms of him being able to control the teams he's been on. It's helped him in terms of his off the court and being able to amass wealth, etc., become a billionaire, and he'll probably become an NBA franchise owner in short order after he's retired. So all these things have worked extremely well in LeBron's favor. I'm not hating on any of that, but I'm sitting back and I'm amazed that all of a sudden people are coming out here and they're so willing to tell the truth about this guy. You know, I appreciate you, man. Down, appreciate you. Hit that like. If you're in here, hit the like for me. Appreciate that. But yeah, these people are so willing to tell the truth now, and I can't figure out, other than G's commentary, that at this point it's a function of realizing that you have to move on and you have to build up the next generation of stars. Gee, tell me, man, am I going overboard with all this? You heard the clip with all these people in the sports media saying what we've been saying for years about LeBron. What am I missing? Am I going overboard? Am I just hating? Tell me, where are you with that?
No, I looked at the how he targeted Darvin Ham, and then I see clips of him coaching his kid at the EYBL league, and it could be like they said in the beginning, like allow LeBron to coach the team and bring in your assistant coach in JJ Reed or JJ Redick or whoever you decide. It could just be he likes to control the narrative here, and it's LeBron, man. He's like the biggest bucket we've seen in our we'll probably see in a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets to do whatever LeBron wants to do, and
True.
if he want to coach, if he want his sons, if he want to coach his sons, if he want to be a GM, you may start seeing the narrative of him moving into ownership. He's one of the big names that should be allowed to do it, and so I think LeBron is he's a coach killer sometimes. So.
Well, so you sounded like Reggie, man. Like you ain't want to come out and say it, bro.
No. I try to look at things from all angles, right?
I tried to as well.
Yeah, give him the benefit of the doubt. He has a career, but there's some more exciting players. I seen him do an up and under, and it looked like he was in the league for 21 years. So it's time to turn the page on LeBron and allow him to coach, play a few minutes. He might get one of those Phil Jackson contracts where he only play home games, something like
coach
that.
Well, what I got to say about that is I don't know if Myron
that.
Scott knew this, is that with the CBA and everything the way it's written up, there's no more, because of the salary cap, you can't be player coach anymore. So that can't happen just by the rules. And then secondly, let's be real here. LeBron is never, ever going to be a coach. You know why? Because he would have to sit up there and accept responsibility when things don't go right. Just like he would never actually be a GM, because he would have to sit up there and accept responsibility when things don't go right. And he cannot be accountable. He simply cannot. We've seen this, right? All he does is he always figures out someone else to be the scapegoat. And so he can't be either one of those positions full time. And then the other thing, I thought about this. We know he's eventually going to be an owner. And personally, I can't wait for him to be an owner, but not for the reasons that a lot of other people think. A lot of people think, hey, it's going to be great to see another black man be an owner of a major sports franchise in this country, which is awesome, great. Coming from those humble beginnings and forging yourself into becoming a billionaire and being able, they always say that owning a professional sports franchise in America is the closest thing you can get to being like royalty in like England or something, right? So cool, you did that. Respect due. But the reason I can't wait to see LeBron become an owner is because he's all about player empowerment, right? But he's also all about control. So what happens when he's an owner and he gets a player that wants to be empowered? Then what happens? That's what I want to sit back and see. I want to see, what if he got a player like him? Obviously, there are very few players like him, but you know what I'm saying? In terms of mindset, a player that's really, really good. And in the NBA, if you're really, really good or great, that means you have a lot of control over the franchise. Then what happens? Is he going to be able to deal with that? And then is he going to expose himself for being a hypocrite for all those years? Because we know he's a control freak. So as an owner, do we suddenly think that's magically going to go away? No. This is what I believe. I could be wrong, and I can't wait to be proven wrong or proven right. When LeBron becomes an owner, guess who he's going to be? Guess who he's going to be? He's going to be the Jerry Jones of the NBA. That's what LeBron James is going to be. Always in front of the cameras, always in front of the microphone. Me, 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 me. Look at me. Attention, attention, attention. Do you think that when he's done playing, just because he owns a franchise, that he's going to be able to put all that to the side and not seek and crave that attention? Of course not. He's going to be Jerry Jones in the NBA. Remember, I said it.
Yeah. I think you look at the relationship between the owner and the price of tickets of having LeBron on on your roster, and that type of leverage gives you say on who's the coach and or
I agree.
what players play with you. And so I think that's been his leverage over the years. And you'd be a fool like not to
Not to exercise.
appease. Yeah, not to appease his wishes. So
Well, you can only appease it to a point, because like appeasing his wishes, what does that really get you? You might win a chip with him, okay, but then when he's gone, then what? Unless you have an incredible front office a la the Miami Heat, it might take you some time to turn that thing around. Because what? Think about this, right? LeBron fans often use this when they're taking shots at Jordan. They say when Michael Jordan first retired to go play baseball, they won 57 games the year before he retired. And the following year, when he wasn't there, they won 55. So that apparently in their mind says Michael Jordan wasn't that important. Okay. Then they say, when LeBron left Cleveland, they went from, I want to say 61 or 66 wins to like 19 or 20. And so that says, oh, LeBron was more important. Is that what that really says? Let's use our heads here. When Michael Jordan left to play baseball, the entire rest of the roster was in place. The head coach was still there. The system was still there. Those guys knew how to play within that system. And they had an all-time great as the second fiddle stepping up into the first fiddle, right? Cool. That's what explains the fact that there was not a significant drop-off. Now, you flip it and you say, okay, when LeBron left, the franchise fell into the toilet. Of course, LeBron left when the franchise fell into the toilet, right? There's a reason for that, because LeBron destroys rosters. He's always flipping rosters, so there's never any real opportunity to get continuity. LeBron in his prime had the ball in his hand all the time, so most of those guys didn't know how to play other than hanging out, waiting for a pass from LeBron, and then figuring out what to do when they got it, right? So there wasn't any real system in place. LeBron was just the system. And of course, we know that when LeBron left Cleveland, Cleveland fired Mike Brown in attempts to appease him, keep him happy, and keep him there, right? They fired Mike Brown, and so they had a brand new head coach. So it's such a ridiculous analogy that doesn't even make sense to say, oh, well, when Michael Jordan left, the Bulls still only went down 2 games, and when LeBron left, they went down 40 games or whatever the number is. Like, let's use our heads here, people. Let's use our heads. But that shows a lot of people really don't think basketball. A lot of people just are LeBron James fans and not basketball fans, and they don't think further in depth. All right, looks like G fell out, but I know he'll be back. All right, so carrying on with this topic, here's something else that's interesting, right? So here's the other thing. Getting into that along with the media and LeBron is Bronny, right? LeBron James Jr., who we know was an All-American in high school, and even that's kind of iffy. We've heard people in the basketball media say, well, maybe he shouldn't have been the All-American in high school. And it's interesting because on no team he's been on has he been the best player. He wasn't the best player in high school. He wasn't the best player in college. And now he's declared for the NBA. Why? LeBron James has made it clear for years now that he wanted to play with his son in the NBA. And that's beautiful. Very few people are able to play long enough to even contemplate that. Furthermore, play at a high enough level to make something like that happen. So respect due. That's probably an amazing thing. But if we also heard Bronny's comments recently at the Combine, he said he just wants to put in the work and play in the NBA and not necessarily play with his dad. Like, that's more LeBron's dream than his. And I thought that was very telling. And I'm a guy who has said from the beginning that this Bronny thing, it's not about Bronny at all. It's about LeBron. Again, me. Look at me. And I've said this. If LeBron were to get to play with Bronny, his son, in the NBA, what would it be? It would be, look at LeBron James. He's like a big kid. He's out there playing with his son. Look at the smile on LeBron's face. Look at him. He's coaching up his son. He's the first guy to play with his son. LeBron, right? It wouldn't be about Bronny. It's all about LeBron, like everything else. And so now we hear Bronny saying, well, I just want to put in the work and I want to play in the league, and it's not so much about playing with my dad. So now we know this whole thing is about LeBron and not about Bronny. And I think that's interesting. And then we heard some more comments from Kendrick Perkins discussing that. So check this out, and then we'll come back and talk about it a little more.
Thing about LeBron James being at the Cavs game. I'm glad he was there and not at the Combine.
Right.
Because now Bronny has to show up and show out, meaning earn, not given, right? LeBron, stay your ass away. We don't need you on the internet saying, oh, look at Bronny. They said he couldn't shoot. He's shooting. Oh, he got a 40-inch vertical. No more hyping it up.
Now, again, this is Kendrick Perkins, one of the biggest LeBron James cheerleaders ever in the sports media. And again, he's telling LeBron, yo, chill, tone it down. And this is interesting, again, for a number of reasons, but one of them being that, remember, a couple years ago, LeBron was sitting there tweeting, and this is a very loose quote, basically saying that Bronny is better than a lot of the dudes in the NBA right now. And then he also said after a game with the Lakers that Bronny could help this team right now. So LeBron is the one that's been greasing the skids for his son and pushing all this. And he's making the whole Bronny thing tougher on Bronny than it needs to be. So this is just amazing to me. So G, you have sons, I have a son. We all want what's best for our sons, our children, period. But you know, as men, if we're in that position, obviously, like I mentioned before, we would all love to be able to be in that position where we could be around long enough if we're in the NBA to play with our sons, right? But we see all this other stuff going on, man. What's your thoughts about LeBron and all this Bronny stuff?
I think Bronny's gonna get in the league. I don't.
LeBron won't
really,
let him not get in the league.
Yeah, I really don't know. Like, I looked at Kevin Garnett. I think he just had a piece where he was talking about the gene factor, right? Like the work ethic. I remember when, and I'm dating myself here, but I remember when LeBron had his son, right? One thing about a hooper, right? Like the resources that he invested in his son. So, you know, you think 18 years, this kid was born on a basketball court. So he's been playing basketball. He's been around all the great players and or camps that you can go to develop yourself as a player. And so there's no denying the fact that at what 18, 19, I think he's 19 now or close to 19.
19, I think, yeah.
There's no denying the fact that he's going to be a superstar, just off of default. And
he's not going to be a superstar, man.
He's definitely going to be a superstar.
I think it's going to take him a long way to become I don't see that based on what we've seen so far. I don't see it.
Oh yeah. And again, that could have been the coach at USC. That could have been his coach thing. And even in I don't know. It's hard to say, right? But just based off of the work ethic this kid has and shows, I think he will be a star. He's definitely going to be a star. Now, does star mean score as many points as your father? Maybe not. Maybe he's just a true point guard, right? That's not hard to be. That's not hard to be.
Okay.
Good.
No, I was going to respond to Nino here. So he says we can't tell a man not to hype up his son.
Facts.
Yes and no. So let's do this, right? Did we hear Tim Hardaway Sr. talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. like this?
I don't think he had that window to do that. I don't think he had the media presence or influence.
Oh, did we hear Patrick Ewing talk about Patrick Ewing Jr. like that? We didn't hear Dominique Wilkins talk about his nephew like that. We didn't hear Del Curry talk about Steph Curry like that. There's a lot of, the more you look at it, especially now since we're getting older, there's a lot of guys whose sons are in the league, Kmart, etc. There's a lot of guys whose sons play ball, and we don't hear any of them talking like this. Now, to your point, none of those guys got the gravitas or none of those guys are in position to talk like LeBron talks. So to an extent, I get that point. But the other point is there's a lot of guys who are all-time greats who have sons, right? The most we heard about Michael Jordan, who most regard as the GOAT, we heard him try to get his son onto the team at North Carolina, and Roy Williams was like, Mike, I'm sorry, he's not good enough. And Mike had to just take that,
I mean, is he taking a page out of LeVar Ball's playbook and just pushing this kid up? I mean, that's pretty much how a lot of the Ball brothers got in the league. It was pretty good, but I didn't think.
I was about to say the Ball brothers were better than Bronny, so there's that. Because remember, Lonzo Ball was the number 1 point guard in the country. Yeah,
triple double at UCLA.
Right, he was the number 1 point guard in the country, and then LaMelo Ball Was he
Went
number 1 or number 2
overseas.
pick?
He went overseas and played.
Right.
Yeah,
So
came from overseas.
right. So I think there's a little bit of difference to it. And at the end of the day, all LeVar Ball could have really done was talk up his kids, right? Put them through the paces as they were growing up, then talk them up. He didn't have the power to actually manipulate the situation, and that's what I don't like about it. And think about it. Look at all the pressure that put on Lonzo Ball. Remember Lonzo Ball's first game when Pat Bev was like 94 feet D'ing him up and really giving him a hard time? Like, does LeBron think that guys are not going to go super hard, no diddy at Bronny when Bronny gets into the league? Does he really think that's not going to happen? Why? They can't do that to his pops, but they're going to take it out on him. Well, your name LeBron James too. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to go in attack mode on this dude. Now, Bronny has to know all that's coming, but I think LeBron has kind of unfairly put a bullseye on his son's back.
Yeah, I mean, they was coming at him in college, right? We saw that. And then you have these second-generation players. You talked about Dominique Wilkins. Is it his son or is his nephew?
It's his nephew. It's Gerald Wilkins' son.
Yeah, and then you have Melo's son actually playing at Syracuse. So there's a whole slew of new talent coming out, and he's going to have to go through them. So I don't know how strong this draft class is this year. I haven't had time to really look at it. The boys, men's basketball was it was kind of subpar. I watched more of the girls. It was more
me too.
more appealing, but it's just I guess this is the time to do it. I don't know, man. I wish him the best. And it'd be good to see him.
To me, it's not about Bronny though. That's all I was saying, G.
Yeah,
Nobody wants Bronny to fail.
Yeah, I think Bronny wants to play against his father, right? I think he's
I can see that.
The whole dad son thing. Your dad say go right, you go left. That type
Young
of
lion,
thing.
old lion.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. So he definitely want to go through the fire. I just don't know if Hey, we gonna see him in the league, man. It doesn't matter what we say. He's already in.
Yeah. So I've had this comment up here for a while. I wanted to respond to it. So Terrence Fields, what's up, Terrence Fields? If you haven't already, man, hit that like for me. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. They're trying to run this legendary player who's a face out of the league, and that's a shame. These same people never done this to Tom Brady, who was caught cheating twice on MJ in DC. So let me touch on MJ first. I'm gonna kind of leave Tom Brady out of it, different sport, but let's do MJ in DC. So here's one of the biggest things. Again, you never heard MJ talking about he's the GOAT or any of that. And secondly, people always talk about Michael Jordan in DC. So before Michael Jordan got injured, before his knee really took him out of the game in DC when he was with the Wizards at the end of his career, I think he was averaging 25 points per game, and he had the Wizards in the number 4 seed in the East. Okay, so people always take that shot, but then they leave out the context. And on top of that, let's go ahead and tell me the top 75 player or the top 50 player that Michael Jordan had with him in Washington. I'll wait. Yeah, still waiting. Yeah, you can't. You're not going to be able to, because he didn't have that. He didn't go to Washington and say, okay, I need this, I need that, or get me this person, get me that, trade away this whole team and get me, said top 75, top 50 player. He didn't do that. So we always got to take into account, again, what LeBron does to manipulate rosters. So we always have to take that into account. Secondly, it's not about running that legendary player out of the league. It's, as a league, positioning yourself with the up-and-coming guys so you don't find yourself in a spot that when LeBron is done, you have this mega drop-off like you had in terms of popularity of the league, like you had when Michael Jordan stepped away. That's what it's about. It's not running LeBron out. It's about uplifting the other guys. Okay. Nino Jackson, my man, we just break down everything Bron say. We don't follow them other guys, because those other guys aren't out here talking and screaming, look at me, like LeBron is. Like, that's what LeBron fans don't understand. LeBron, like Stephen A said and everybody else says, LeBron is the one who invites all of this attention on himself. You cannot ask for the attention and then don't like when you get it. It's that simple. It's that simple. MJ had haters too. It just wasn't social media. Yes, MJ had haters, but the reason MJ had haters is because he was just beating everybody, right? He kept a lot of all-time great dudes from winning chips. That's the reason MJ had haters, not because he was circumventing competition or, as I like to say, greasing the skids to try and do everything the easy way. Not because of that. Think about it. You don't think that if MJ wanted his son in the league, he couldn't have pulled this off the way LeBron did? He could have, but he didn't because he was a little more self-aware. But yeah, that's that. All right. So at this point, I got a few people in the chat. I will go ahead and I'll open up the phone lines if anybody wants to call and give me your thoughts on, is LeBron losing control that he's had for so long? Why are members of the media suddenly going at this guy like they are now? Is it fair what he's done to Bronny? And again, I would love to hear from LeBron James fans specifically. So if anybody wants to call in, go ahead and do that. And if not, then we'll go ahead and move on to the last topic. So I'll give you a minute here. Go ahead. The number is on the bottom of your screen, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. No calls on this one? I was surprised, man. You know, it's so funny, G. Before we move on to the next topic, right? Obviously, I'm not a LeBron fan. I'm not a LeBron guy. I try to be really objective when it comes to this dude. I get called a hater a lot, whatever. I don't really care. But the fact is this. I always put it out there for the people that disagree with me. If you notice, I always say I want LeBron fans to call in. I want them to call in and defend them or tell me what I'm saying is wrong. And I never get that. Like when I post clips on YouTube or on Instagram, or I post videos and the LeBron fans are coming for me in the comments, I'm like, cool. Okay, I'm a hater. I'm a liar. Whatever you want to say, cool. And I always put this out there, and I'm putting it out there now. If you're listening, any LeBron fans, anything I've ever said in a video about LeBron that you disagree with, anything I've ever said, if you can prove it, if you can factually refute me and say that I'm wrong, factually refute me. Now that means find the evidence from a reputable source and prove to me that I'm wrong. I will do a brand new show. I will shout you out by name. Matter of fact, if you want to come on the show with me, you can. I'll shout you out by name, and I will tell the entire world that I was lying about LeBron. You caught me lying, and you proved me wrong. How about that? There we go. I'm putting the challenge out there to any LeBron fan. Do that. I'm waiting for you. Do that. I put the challenge out there constantly, and nothing ever comes back. So that says to me that you LeBron fans who like to call me a liar and a hater, you know better than what you're saying. You're just saying stuff because it hurts your feelings and it takes your little tingle away when I get at your boy. But, you know, so again, I'm putting it out there. This is the challenge to you, LeBron fans. If you can prove anything that I've said that is not true, right? If you can factually refute it with information from a reputable source, you do it. I will do a new show. If you want to come on the show with me, you can. If not, I'll shout you out by name, and I will admit to the entire world that I was lying and you caught me lying about LeBron James, and I'll take back whatever it was I said. How's that? We good? All right, cool. So